What is going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. KG is back. It's Saturday night. Ipswich game is just finished. 3-3 draw. You know, wasn't a brilliant game, but very entertaining, very championshipy as it goes. It's a result, like many others today, that have helped us out yet again. Leeds United have got help, but of course, we know that Ipswich have got another game to go. So we're in second right now, which I'll bring up in the table in a bit. But how does this team help itself? That's where I want to go. I don't want to talk about other teams too much today. I want to talk about how we help ourselves after we got humbled 4-0 by QPR yesterday. And that defeat, let me tell you, I woke up this morning, no lie. I woke up this morning, I thought, did that really happen? Then I saw some notifications on my phone from a few of you lovely people that left comments on yesterday's video. I was like, yeah, that did happen. So I was watching football today and I didn't enjoy it like I usually do because that defeat just left a sour taste in my mouth. But like I say, it didn't distract my weekend. I've had a good Saturday today, but I want to know how we can fix this team. Now, I've left the title very vague. I don't usually do that as well. I put Leeds United have crumbled, quite frankly, because we have. But I want to know, how does Daniel Farke lift this team, whether it's we go up second by some miracle or have to go into the playoffs? How does Daniel Farke get this team back up? All right, this is what I want to know. And I want to get you guys' thoughts on that as well. I want to listen, the involvement yesterday on the video, I've got to say, the interaction was absolutely brilliant. You know, I don't usually go off on a rant. I really don't. Even my rant yesterday was a bit measured, I guess, for some people's taste. But the interaction was cool. You understood where I was coming from. It stunk. Still stinks today that we lost 4-0. I was looking at a TalkSport segment earlier. In big old letters, it's got QPR 4, Leeds United 0. I'm like, how? How does that even happen? But yeah, listen, you know the drill, people. Please like the video if you haven't already. If you're watching the replay, please like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, drop your thoughts and comments below if they're sensible. Thank you to David Roberts, Stephen Short, William Morrison, Paul Gray for the super thanks on the last video. Much appreciated. And of course, there was members coming in on the stream yesterday. Salute to you all. Membership link is in the description. Just helps me out. Goes a long way. Yeah, listen, let me get into some of your comments here. Yeah, I'm still spitting feathers. My head was on the moon. And you know, I had people contacting me yesterday from Premier League teams. They were looking at, you know, some of these people, XG merchants, and saying, how did QPR do this to you? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Ali Stale Biscuits, Byron refusing to shake Farkas and in the Blackburn match. Can anyone confirm that? Blackburn match. I mean, that's a long time ago. But listen, I just want to say, just before I go on, because I have to share this. You know, I love these things, people. We got another one. We got another If I Speak, because I had one yesterday, people. I used the Arteta one. If I speak, if I say what I want to say, I'll be suspended 6 months. You know, I used that one. But Mo Salah used one today after his Klopp fallout, and the Klopp fallout is beautiful. Doesn't do nothing for me personally as a Leeds fan, but to see Liverpool suffering, that gives me a little bit of joy. But Salah walked through the mix zone, declined interview request, and said, if I speak today, there will be fire. And I get the feeling that before this season's over, there's going to be more fire if the team carries on the way that they did against QPR. I've honestly, listen, people, I still haven't recovered. I don't think anybody has. I don't think anyone has. I said in the video yesterday, there's usually people that come the day after and say, you've made, you know, you're going overboard with this. There hasn't been anybody that said that. Not one of you. Not one. So that does show exactly how ridiculous and how just disappointing and hurtful that result was yesterday. It was unbelievable. And listen, people, today, Dino here, KG, can you think what has happened since the break? We just don't seem to be much of a team unit. Well, I'm going to get some stuff up, courtesy of LUFC data and everything else like that, because what we've seen, it doesn't lie, and numbers don't lie when it backs it up. Byron, don't you think the players were tired? No, I don't. Absolutely not. And Byron, what I would say to that then, if they are tired, use your squad more. Use your squad more. Don't just use your substitutes for 10 minutes. Put them on for half an hour. Use your squad. There's no excuses for fatigue. Everybody, except for Ipswich, and please, 90 minutes does not, you know, on top of that, doesn't make it not equal. We've all played the same amount of games. I'm not having fatigue. I'm not having that. Ali Stettle Biscuits, KG. I saw the Wales Poland match. I think our Welsh contingent was crushed by that match. These are just looking for excuses. I think Ipswich have got 4 Welsh players in their team. You know what I mean? They've got Welsh players in their team too. These are just excuses. I don't want to hear excuses today, people. I want to hear solutions. Chris King, he consistent as it is. Farke has to go. He has to handle pressure. Well, we're going to speak about Daniel Farke. We're going to speak about it. We have to, because I read it out yesterday in the post-match review, and I didn't deep it until today. And when I deeped it, I was like, how did I miss that? It was so blatantly obvious, and I'm going to get into it as well. So yeah, listen, people, look, let me just get the championship results up. Let's get this one out the way first, because again, we got done a few favors today. Right, let me just get this here. Share that. Here we are. Right. So of course we started off the weekend with a belter. We got some help today in the first game, I should say. Norwich and Swansea. Swansea getting a draw at Norwich, which was good. You know, it kept Hull hungry. And a lot of you pointed out to me as well, the West Brom game was a big one too. I completely missed it. And shout out to everyone that mentioned it. I missed it. But again, that just shows you, doesn't it? How many other teams do we have to keep looking at to do us favors? We've even looked at Cardiff for a couple of times this season to do us favors, and they've done it. It's just that we didn't capitalize. But look at that again. We had to look at West Brom, you know, to lose a game to Sheffield Wednesday, which thankfully Sheffield Wednesday did their jobs today emphatically in 3-0 winners. So, you know, they kept West Brom in the mix to possibly come out of the top 6. So there you go again, keeping Hull hungry. And speaking of Hull City, that game today, I was watching that game, got a 3-3 draw in the end. Well deserved, I think. You know, both teams were going for it. Omari Hutchinson today for Ipswich looked like he was the game winner. He looked so good today. And I just looked at the way he was playing. He looked like he was playing with the weight was off his shoulders. Whereas our team yesterday looked like the whole world was on it and then some. You know, the way that both teams are playing is just night and day. Night and day. And now we just wonder now, how did Ipswich approach this game against Coventry? See, certain people have said Leif Davis was off injured. I think I was setting my stream up. Didn't see that. But are they going to have enough against Coventry? This is what we got to hope for. We got to keep on relying on other people, man. And that sucks. That sucks. Yeah, listen. Yeah, Michael, Bar Leicester, all top sides have been in poor form. It's like no one wants it, man. It's like everyone's just throwing it away. But the thing is, both teams know that there is work to do once they're up. But I'm just, you know, the QPR game is still in my mind. But I do want to get into this. Oh, yeah, just before let me just refresh that so we can get off the other team stuff and focus on this football team. Here is the table. For anyone that hasn't seen the updated table, we're still in second by hook or crook. Ipswich then get their other game. I think they are playing Tuesday, aren't they? Is that Coventry Ipswich game Tuesday, people? I think it might be because all the games are on Saturday, right? Last game of the season. But either way, the game is coming up in a few days' time. We're level on points. So obviously, our goal difference, even with that QPR thumping yesterday, is still superior. Gotta hope that Coventry can beat Ipswich to have any chance of this top 2 thing going into the last day for me. Yeah. Yeah, it's Tuesday. Shout out to you. Yeah. Yeah, Southampton got beat again. Yeah, I should really show that, shouldn't I? Because I said yesterday, and I was being quite flippant, in all honesty. Where is that result? Where is it? Where they at? There they are. Southampton, Stoke City. Yeah, Southampton lost again. I was quite flippant yesterday when I said, who cares who wins that game? But we all know in the playoff situations, it's all about form, the way you go in. You have to go into the playoffs in decent form. How many times have we seen that 6th place team that has just crept in go up because their momentum is high? Meanwhile, the person that's probably dropped out of the 2nd place into 3rd are thinking, oh, damn, now we've got playoffs. There's 2 different ways of looking at the playoffs for teams. And one is that way where you drop out of the top two and you go, damn, we've got to do this way. Or the top six or the sixth place team going, oh man, we made it. Let's go for this. What have we got to lose? And that is what we run the risk of. So we do actually need a good result against Southampton on the last day if we are to go into the playoffs. Now, I want to get into this now. Let me just close some of these windows because I want to get into the nitty gritty, as the saying goes. So yeah, Daniel Farke's comments. It is true, Gavin. None of them are informed, but I want to focus on how we get into informed. And so let's go. We're definitely by this. Far from where the Leeds might be choking. There he is with his 90 points again. That's not what I want to focus on. It's this here. You can never guarantee anything in football, but what I can assure you is that we'll speak, we'll be self-critical. I want to go on to that first because Beren Cross and a couple of others reported today that Leeds United were kept at Thorpe Arch today for meetings. Long day today as they picked through last night's wreckage. Now, I want to know if that also goes on Daniel Farke. Does him and his coaching staff also look within themselves and say, what are we doing wrong here? What can we do better to help this team out? Because what I don't want, we'll never hear, but what I wouldn't want to hear is that you've spoken to Jaden Anthony or Joe Gelhart for their little cameos yesterday saying what they could have done better in 8-10 minutes. Or maybe you look at yourself and say, actually, maybe if we give you 20 minutes when we could see things were clearly not going right, maybe we could have done something better by you. I just don't know if that man's arrogance, though, will do something like that. So it would be so interesting to hear what goes on in these meetings because he always says as well, and I think he said it in his comments yesterday, this is not the time to criticize. I could swear and all that stuff, whatever that means to him. But I don't think he's been critical enough. And I made that reference before about having managers that don't tell you what you've done wrong until the end of your work year. And it's like, well, Gaffer, if you told me during the year, I could have actually improved through the year, made adjustments, but you didn't tell me enough. And I don't think he's telling them enough, in my opinion. Gavin, absolutely not. But I do have some solutions in that, in what you're saying. I'm not even going to bring it up. Jim the Quinn saying there was something toxic about the team last night. I can't put my finger on it. Listen, there was, yeah, Martin, I've said it before. Guys know me. What do I always call it, man? Self accountability is huge for me. Always has been, always will be. I know where other people have done me wrong, but at the same time, I know where I could have been better in certain scenarios myself. I will always admit that, but I don't think he's got that in him. I really don't. I don't think he's got it in him. I think he will look at every single player, no matter how many minutes they got yesterday, and say, you could have done this a bit better. But what was he doing yesterday? Seriously, I said it yesterday, but every time the camera was on him, he was just sitting there. He wasn't doing nothing. He was sitting on this chair like this. Sorry, that's not really organizing anything. Now, I'm not asking him to be an Arteta on the sideline doing this all game long, but can you give him a little something when the team is clearly struggling? I don't know. Well, misanthropy, they've stopped playing for him. Something's wrong. We'll find that out very soon. But that's going to be very interesting to see if these meetings will have done anything to help this team out. There was more, and this was the one that got me, people, because I read it yesterday, and it wasn't until today where I deeped it and said, "What?" When you think of something you said the night before, and you're like, next day you're like, "Oh my days," because my head was on Pluto yesterday. So this was it as well. Farke and Bamford's injury. I would have preferred to have him available, but Joel was a natural replacement. It wasn't just about the striker in many attacking positions. We didn't show enough resilience. Now, the last bit, I definitely agree. But people, the first bit is where I'm stumped. So now all of a sudden, after the few months of putting Piroe behind Rutter, where it wasn't working, and then having a near 13-minute segment in a press conference talking about why Piroe plays behind Rutter, to all of a sudden now say, months later, when Piroe's not really getting much game time anyway these days, to say he's the natural replacement for Patrick Bamford. What? I, this is the thing as well. When it started to change, when Bamford came into the team in January, when he was starting to play the striker, and Rutter went into where he should be, and that's in behind, because Rutter is not a finisher, as we've seen over and over this season. 7 goals, when really he should be on more, but he's not that player. No one asked him, because I think that after he made that 30-minute speech, or however long it was definitely a long one. I think he probably the journals were probably told, don't ask this question again. And that does happen in press conferences. We recently seen Ten Hag ban journalists because he doesn't want to answer their questions. But this should have been put back to him. And I do wonder, in the press conference this week, we'll find out if the question's banned or not. But this will be very interesting to find out how Piroe is suddenly a Bamford replacement, when early in the season he told everybody Piroe isn't a 9. And that's what I'm very interested to find out. But it's just a few. Listen, everybody, I tell you, everybody's a hypocrite, including myself. Everyone's got certain hypocrisies. You just got to choose what are yours. But he he goes back on himself too many times. He says one thing and then does the other so many times. And I know some of it is mind games for the press and for opposition. I do get that part. But some of it, though, I think he goes back on himself sometimes. Um, yeah, John, it was difficult to listen to Farke yesterday. Everything he sounded was very wishy-washy. Yeah. And and that thing about, we never give up. Well, the team didn't turn up to give up, in all fairness. So maybe you're right. Um, and what was it? What was another thing as well? Yeah, this thing as well. He, Parker said Bamford had no chance of playing today, in too much pain. Said that on Monday, everybody wants to send Bamford to retirement. Then right now, he's our only hope to win games in both, you know, in both directions. We shouldn't be too far over the line. The guy keeps on, and he's done this before, where he talks like he should be sitting in my seat, a YouTuber. He talks like a passion merchant fan. He talks like a fan that's one of those guys that say Bamford, Bamford is the greatest thing since sliced bread, even though he doesn't do nothing. Then when he finally scores, he's like, yeah, now you see what Bamford does. He sounds exactly like that. He shouldn't be sounding like this, people. He shouldn't. And he said a couple of comments like this in regards to Patrick Bamford. He said it a couple of times, not this retirement one, but there was one just maybe 2 weeks ago where somebody actually did question him. Does Mateo Joseph put pressure on Bamford to start? And then he made that whole thing about Joseph only getting 1 goal in 15 games. Even though Joseph gets 10 minutes a game. Like, you shouldn't be talking like a YouTuber, Daniel Farke. You're a professional manager. Quit these kind of quotes. But I've told you before with Daniel Farke, like when he says about back the team, don't be a doubter or a moaner. He's talking to a large fan base, because you always hear Danny Farke say, listen, he'll say in press conferences about 10 times at the conference, this crowd, this fan base is very emotional. And he knows that. He knows what he's playing to. He knows that he's playing to the gallery when he's talking about back the team no matter what. Because there's a lot of fans that are just like that. They would have seen that. Some of them yesterday would have seen that result and just said, well, we're still in it, so keep going for the lads, and not just try and dissect or even suggest of what we could improve, to not get humbled again 4-0. um, yeah, I'm much better, man, much better. Gavin here, starting team last night was all wrong. That's Stefan Farke. And let's go into it, man. Um, I'm done with the Phil Hay thing. Here we are. And this is where you could improve. This is where you can get a lift. But this is on Farke now to do something that he hasn't really done. And that's go against what he's done for game on game on game. Change things up. Look, LUFC data, shout out to LUFC data for these things that I'm about to bring up. Leeds conceded the fewest goals, 3, in England's top 4 tiers from January 1st to the March international break. Only Southampton, 14, have conceded more goals than Leeds, 13 in the championship since the March international break. A total defensive capitulation. Do you realize how mad that is? Now, what Daniel Farke needs to do is change the back two and move Ampadu into midfield for a start. Now, I don't know how fit Charlie Creswell is because, quite frankly, Charlie Creswell's not getting any minutes, and all of that. Remember that whole thing he solved in January, which I give him a lot of credit for because that thing was sour with Charlie Creswell. It was public spat, didn't look good on either person. With Charlie Creswell's dad coming out saying, "Well, I wish my boy would play more," then Farke saying, "Well, Creswell doesn't train favors," but he did all that to keep him and not even use him. It's coming up to squeaky bum time now, but it's the time now to move Ampadu back into midfield. The defense isn't as tight as it was before. Move Ampadu into midfield, put Charlie Creswell back in defense, so at least then we have an attacking set piece threat. He will get you I don't know if he'll score a goal from now till the end of the season. I don't know that, but he'll give you more of an opportunity. He will. Lodi saying Ampadu and Gray should be our midfield, Creswell and Rodon in defense. Yeah, why not? Why not? Or as some people say with Byram, Byram's form has fallen off a cliff. This is not the first half of the season, Sam Byram, we saw. I don't know how fit he is. Don't know. But maybe go back with what worked before with Archie Gray being at right back. He's up against Southampton. It's going to be an open game. Put him at right back. Maybe stick Kamara back in there. Kamara's been rested enough. Maybe Kamara will be hungry, have a point to prove, and then give him more time in midfield next to Ampadu. Let's go back to that again. Yeah, Michael. Farke will hate moving Ampadu as it's clearly what all fans want. He still wants to prove he's right, and that's what you've always got to worry with this guy. He's stubborn, and I've told you before, people. I don't mind stubborn managers, but make it work. Make it work for you. Don't keep on harping on about past glories or what we've done. The 90 points it means nothing if we don't go. I've said this so many times. It doesn't mean anything. So the next bit, we're talking about a little change there to help out there. Next one is Leeds have scored the opening goal just once in 7 championship matches since the March international break. We've conceded first half goals in 5 of those games. Again, more defensive work needs to be done. And also, I mean, conceding from the first shot on target faces on the opening 8 minutes in both of our last 2 games doesn't help. And I mean, that just goes on defense and Eli Millier, and I'm not going to go into that today. There's no point. Because quite frankly, as well, with Cardalo, who's come from one bench to come onto another, no, I'm not impressed with that at all. I thought he was coming here to fight, to be a number 1. The guy's very content with being a number 2 at this stage of his career. Don't rate that one bit. So I don't know what you do in the goalkeeper thing. I don't know if Darlow will do any better at this stage than Eli Millier. I don't, seriously. But what you can do, the goals have dried up a little. Put Mateo Joseph up front. Just do it. Put him up front. We're having trouble scoring goals. The goals aren't going in like they were in previous games. Put Mateo Joseph up front. But how many times can I say it? Clem here. It's not much of an excuse, but Sky's scheduling hasn't helped us. It hasn't, Clem, but I tell you, it's not going to help. The rearranged games aren't going to help Ipswich, really, are they? They're going to play today, play another one Tuesday, and then Saturday. That's not helping Ipswich in their promotion hunt either. So, again, it's not an excuse. But yes, Sky moving of the games where we seem to move from, say, Monday to Sunday to then Tuesday to Friday, whatever it may be, it doesn't help, but it's not an excuse. These players and the squad should be utilized more. They should be. He can't talk about fatigue in the team and not use squad rotation. It makes 0 sense. Jasmine, KG, he'll put the same team out Saturday. Well, if he does, it will be to his detriment, but I don't think he will. I think Patrick Bamford will come back in. That's why I think I'm wasting my time talking about Joseph. I think Bamford's knee will be healed up by then, and he will start against Southampton. I think that's where it is. Yeah, he was. Ishtar. Farke was sat down sulking after 2-0 down. Yeah, absolutely he was. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, listen, 4 defeats against the top half, 5 defeats against the bottom half. Yeah, we know all that stuff. And oh God, please. Ugh, ugh. Terrible reading, terrible reading, terrible reading. But yeah, the goals thing, and the goals thing also comes from it's not just about Joseph not being there. The team needs a different tactic. Said all season long in terms of in terms of this team being Somerville and Jorginho. Well, Jorginho hasn't been right since the operation. Kudos for him for trying, and he has got assists in the game. He's been less effective than he was before the hernia situation, but he's quite clear he's not fit. I think anyone can see that. So there you got Gilhart. Why not just try him? Why not just give him a go at 10? What harm will it do now? He's not going to be match fit, so he probably won't last 90 minutes at this stage because he hasn't been getting game time. But what harm can it do to put him on and then say bring on Jorginho in the latter minutes when Southampton are a bit fatigued? I don't know, man. Yeah, I missed that as well. Hey, listen, Ali, maybe he comes back after he's been benched for a few games. Maybe he looks at his game and thinks, I need to be doing that again. Because we weren't getting that from Glenn Kamara in his last stint. You know, the times he was constantly winning that ball up high and setting off attacks. We hadn't seen that in so long with Glenn Kamara. But who knows? Maybe he gives us that against Southampton. I don't know. Um, Yeah, Tintin, 20 plus consecutive game scoring to not scoring last four. The more concerning thing for me is yeah, the goals are a concern going that way, but to concede so many off the first shots on target again, tell you it gives me PTSD of the Premier League, where we conceded, was it 14 games? First shot on target goes in. Remember that ugly stat in when we got relegated? It feels like that again with this team. I don't trust Eli Elliott anyway. I've got no apologies about that. I don't trust him as a goalkeeper. Don't think he's good enough. Even that simple shot stopping. Saw that yesterday with their fourth goal. He literally could have stood there and caught it, but instead he palms it into the net. Listen, that's a worry for me that we're conceding goals at an alarming rate, and he's not doing anything to change the defensive system. Kev here. How can fans see the problems yet Farke does not see how his timings of his substitutions is an issue? For example, lack of tactics specific to teams we're playing, players not good enough. Bust. I do think that the players are good enough, and this is something that I didn't want to get lost in yesterday's stream because everyone had a stinker. There's no excuses for anybody. Um, but in terms of someone like Somerville, he's been sensational all season. Overall, he's been sensational. There's been a couple games where he hasn't been on it, but overall, even when this team hasn't been playing well, say in that December period, he was the one that was trying to make things happen for this team. That's been a constant through the season. He just had a stinker along with the rest of the team yesterday. But there are players here that should be cementing this top two easy as well. When you look, I'm sorry if you didn't watch Ipswich today, and I know Ipswich fans watch these streams. I mean, there was a lot of rival fans and all kinds of fans yesterday's stream. By the way, people love misery, man. Um, and yeah, Chris, listen, Chris, half the team are dead on their feet because Farke won't make changes. But these are things we've said all season long. He needs to make changes earlier. Look, what is it? Statistically, he is the manager that makes changes the latest. He is that guy. Uh, yeah, Matt, I do think that Archie to go back to right back, Kamara back in. Yep, too much to ask for an 18-year-old. I don't think his age has got anything to do with it, Matt. I just think that at this point now, put him back at right back, get Kamara back in there for a little bit more energy. He's well rested now, so he should be good to move around. Get Ampadu back in defensive midfield, and we're good to go. Creswell, Roden at the back. Give us a good old meaty centre back partnership because we need it at this point in time. But it sounds so simple, but listen, we're just fans. We can only do this from our armchairs and phones, TVs, wherever you're watching it from. We can't do nothing to change it. Just making suggestions. I always say I don't like looking at problems and not bringing a solution. Don't like doing that. Um, yeah, Mike, he's not bold enough to make early important changes. Yeah, and I do. You know what? I think that's with his respect thing. I think that's with his respect thing in terms, when you hear him talk about not wanting to smash opposition teams or make the scoreline too big. I think it's probably that again. He probably feels like he'll embarrass a player. But you saw yesterday, listen, Peru, how did he last the 95 minutes? And I'm not a Peru slanderer. I'm not. But he had a stinker yesterday. I know a lot of them did, but nothing that guy was doing was happening. His teammates were getting annoyed with him. Sorry. They were getting annoyed with him on the pitch. Multiple, Nanto, Somerville. Like, Peru, play the ball this way. Nanto is then jumping in the air. Like, what are you doing? Play the simple pass. But Peru then takes another touch, passes it backwards to Ampadu, move breaks down. It's become the thing now with Joe Peru. I'm sure they like him off the pitch, but the fans in general don't trust him. The manager definitely doesn't back him, and his teammates are getting frustrated with him now. It's a horrible combo for him. I don't feel bad. I think he'll move in the summer and do what he did before. I do think that, but I also look at it this way with Joe Peru. If you can't handle the slander, if you can't handle the pressure that comes with playing at Leeds, which it looks like it's a bit on top of him right now, then this is not the club for you. And that's been the message for so many players in the past. All of them love the idea of playing for Leeds. And when they get here, it's a different story. Different story. Farke has lost the plot. Tommy G is saying, I'm not trying to be edgy. That usually comes with an edgy comment. So let me continue. But I honestly don't see the hype around Joseph. I need to see more. How he hasn't started over Piroe, I never know. I mean, that's a contradictory section. Are you Daniel Farke, Tommy G? That's a contradictory sentence. How he hasn't started over Piroe, I'll never know. But you don't get the hype. The hype is, Tommy, is that this is a player that if we don't play, listen, there could be a clear out this summer if we don't go up. And I think everyone knows that. But there is no guarantees that Mateo Joseph, the club will say to him, oh, hey, Mateo, you're going to be our main striker this season. Mateo Joseph probably has more interest from other clubs at higher leagues. We know that he's probably not scared to go abroad and say, well, cheers, but you know what? I didn't get played enough last season. I'm going to explore my options. And not one fan can hold that against him. I don't want to hear any slander. Saw that pathetic slander for when it happened to Somerville the first time when Bielsa called him out. And who's the bloody right back? Cody Drame. When he wanted to leave because when Luke Ayling was injured, it was Shackleton playing or it was someone else playing. And Cody Drame had the nerve to ask to leave to go out on loan to get first team football and got hammered. I don't want to see any of that from Mateo Joseph because he hasn't been used properly. And I said the same thing if Nanto was wanting to leave in the summer. He was not used correctly in the Premier League in the second half under that Spanish slough, Javi Garcia that dropped him. Then Big Sam, big game at the end of the season, all our best attackers on the bench. It was a disgrace. But Joseph, if you don't get the hype, he's a natural goal scorer. He's an instinctive goal scorer. He's quick. He's strong. He can break lines. He can get past defenders. He can get off the shoulder of defenders, which we currently don't have. Not one of our other forwards can do that in terms of Bamford or Peru. He will get you goals. And I obviously there's no proof of this, but I do think in other games, if he was playing, he would have scored a few more goals. I do think that. Ian, administration coming if we don't go up. It won't be that bad, Ian. Our finances will be not great, but there will be sales that will make sure that the club won't go under. But what we replace the players that are going out with is going to be scary hours. And people will be thinking, damn, I miss Somerville. Yeah, I miss Nanto. You're going to miss Nanto, definitely. But these are players that should be playing in the Premier League. And that's the point I'm trying to make. There's players here more than good enough to play in the Premier League. And we haven't got the best out of them for whatever reasons. And we'll get to that at the end of the season. We haven't got the best out of all of them this season. This as well should hurt. This should hurt. And I don't know how anyone else felt with this. But this should hurt you as a Leeds player. You got Leicester City. As soon as our game is done, listen, congratulations again to Leicester. Worthy in gaining promotion. watching the TV, watching us getting blammed 4-0 and celebrating. That has to burn if you're a Leeds United player. You've got opposition players, not fans, players celebrating you getting blammed out of your boxers 4-0. You've got to take that and make it burn a fire within you. You have to. If Daniel Farke's team talks aren't doing it, let something like this do it, because you can't let this happen. You need to be celebrating. You need to be dunking on someone's head come the end of the season and getting promoted, whether it's second or for the playoffs. So find a way. Honestly, that video for me, I get it. It's cool, but as a Leeds fan, I don't want to see another team dunking on our heads at our expense. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. Oh, let me get that off. Let me get that off. So it sucks, man. It absolutely sucks. David here saying, apart from Somerville, don't see any of the rest of our players being good enough to play in the Premier League. I mean, I respectfully disagree. If you, I mean, it depends if you watch Premier League week in, week out, but there's some teams that would love a few of these players in their team. Absolutely love them in their team. And a lot of them do have suitors, and some of them have suitors from abroad as well. It's not just Premier League interest we need to be concerned with. It's other teams outside in the other big leagues. So yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those where even if you don't think that they can play in the Prem, there are takers for him. Somerville's definitely one. He's got interest all over the place. I will think that there will be a few suitors for Jorginho as a pure playmaker, obviously not as a striker. Nonto is David. You don't think Nonto is a top flight player? I swear the guy recently captained the Italy under 21s and stuff. Like he is Premier League. The way Willie Nonto plays is Premier League level. The way he plays, his style is Premier League level. And he showed that already when he was given the opportunity before he got injured for Italy when we was in the Prem. Then all of a sudden he couldn't get back in the team. You know, trying to fit in Jack Harrison at attacking midfield central. Crazy, crazy. Well, Ed, this is the thing. Selling these players may force Farke to play Joseph. Well, this is the thing, though, isn't it? In terms of that, we've already said it many times that Farke's tactic this season has been Jorginho and Somerville and hope for the best. Well, then he'll have to find something else if he's still here. If he is still the manager next season, whatever league we're in, he's going to have to do something different because he hasn't done it this season. He hasn't. Point me to a game where he has done something different, and I'll say fair. But if it hasn't been leaving on the same players, hoping that we can eventually break through, whether it's Rotherham, Plymouth, or whoever it is, then I'm yet to see it. Or if you're not throwing on the kitchen sink when we're drawing or losing the game in the final 5 minutes of regular time. SSJ W animation saying, what will hurt me most if we have to see Archie leave? Wouldn't even have got to see him at his best in the lead shirt. Yeah, and that's another one that could possibly go. I mean, David Archie Gray has got so many admirers, even going out to Real Madrid. Now, I'm not saying he's going to go to Real Madrid, but he's got Dortmund looking at him, and we know what Dortmund do with youngsters like Archie Gray. They make them look like world beaters and then sell them on for a humongous profit. He has got suitors out there. Will he give us another year in the champ? It depends. The problem is, though, if he is pure profit for the books, because he's come from the academy, he is pure profit. And if a team throws down an eye-watering amount of money, it's going to be hard for Leeds to say no. It's going to be hard. But listen, we'll get to we'll cross that bridge when it come to it, people. We'll cross that bridge. Robert here saying, I can see Archie staying for another season. I think it would massively benefit his progression having another season playing week in, week out. There's two ways of looking at that, Robert. You're not wrong, but there's also, it depends where he goes. So say like I look at a mate of his as well, And I'm sure he's looking at him going, I could be doing that. Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace. Now, if he goes to a club that isn't Liverpool or somewhere like that, where he's going to get week in, week out football or close to it, then he might go, because you're better off doing that than playing week in, week out, with all due respect, against Derby County, Rotherham. Well, not Rotherham next season, QPR. You get more out of it playing at the top level than you are week in, week out in the Championship. And that's the way that football players see it. I promise you that. So it all depends on the buying team, and if he's got a chance of being in the first team. But yeah, he'll be looking at Adam Wharton saying, look at all the ratings Adam Wharton's getting right now. I feel I could be getting those too. And these things in football, they do matter. I know people don't want to hear that stuff, but they do matter. I do too as well. Dortmund, I think he would play week in, week out in the Bundesliga. Absolutely. Russ in the house. Miss half of this, no problem, Russ. I'll catch up later, but many thanks, KG, for your constant constructive content. Much appreciated, later. Much appreciated to you, Russ, for always supporting, man. Shout out to you. Ishtar, yep, and this is what we don't want to do. We will end up being a feeder club if we don't get back in the Prem. And look, even when we was in the Prem, because we weren't ambitious enough, because we didn't turn over that squad enough to push up that league and push up, we got relegated out of it. But you know what I mean? We lost the players like Rafinha. He would have eventually gone to Barca anyway, but then we lose Calvin Phillips. Now, Calvin Phillips, if he was fitter and we were getting up the table and we're making moves to get into those places like Brighton, Villa, not Villa this season, Villa previous seasons, West Ham even, I think he stays. I think he stays with Leeds to try and get us into Europe. But we didn't make any of those moves. We stuck with the same tired team with poor additions to it. So you got no one to blame for yourself in that, in terms of Leeds United. I mean, Johnny here saying American employers can be ruthless, and Farke was tasked with getting us promoted, so they might make a change. That will have to be discussed. It will have to be discussed. I just find it hard to believe, and I've said this at the start of the season, so please, if you think I'm just making this up, go back. I find it very difficult to believe that the 49ers invested in the team after such a turbulent summer to invest 16 million in Piroe, 5 million in Gruev, expensive loads in Jed Spence, who they returned. I don't believe you spend that kind of money if you're just looking to consolidate and hope you go up in the second year. I don't buy it for 1 second. So I do think that it was promotion this year. And I think the pressure as well, looking on Daniel Farke's face and on the team, I think that's telling as well. And the accounts, never mind their faces, the accounts tell you promotion is imperative this summer. Remember, 70 million goes out of the kitty for various transfers, players of who we are actually trying to get rid of as well. Madness. Absolutely madness. Jonesy here, though, saying changing Farke so soon would be so naive. Listen, if you think Farke could possibly get us up in the second season, cool. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just gonna hold off on that for now at the moment, because I know he's not gonna get sacked before the Southampton game. I'm just trying to present solutions that can possibly help this team. And listen, he's not watching these streams, but he does go on. He reads fan opinion from somewhere. You've heard him in press conference. He doesn't just read the journal stuff. He listens to the fans in certain places, whether he's reading it on forums or wherever he's getting his news. I don't know. Comment sections in the articles could be, but he does take on fan opinion, or he knows of fan opinion, I should say, because he doesn't take it on. Yep, Derby are back. And that's it. I mean, Derby are back next season. Sheffield United obviously got relegated today. I mean, Sheffield United have got a chance to break 100 goals conceding in a season. And I thought the 60 we conceded under Bielsa in that up to, what was it, February, was bad. Hey, they just broke that, man. They broke that. Ishtar, what the folk think of Steve Cooper? Hey, is Chris King is still here? He is here. Chris, you've just commented underneath. Steve Cooper. Yeah. Could he have done better? Who knows? Who knows if he could have done better? I don't know. But I know Chris King is a big fan of Steve Cooper. But I think he did well to get Forest up. Listen, Forest were trying year after year to get up. Steve Cooper was the man to do it. And there's there's credit in that for me. There's credit in that. Um, but yeah, so that is it, people. I think that is it. But let me look. You know what? Let me stay, man, because you guys are still putting in your comments here. So let me go. Uh, on the other hand, no, Gabo is saying, I don't want Farke KG. Stubborn won't rotate. Late subs, plan A, and that's it. I think he should resign when we lose. Lose is 1-0, people. Please lose, lose, LOSE. 1-0, please. I think we will when we lose the playoffs. Hey, when I mean, look, you know what? I don't blame you for saying that. There's nothing, nothing after the QPR says we're gonna even do nothing. We got a game against Southampton. We'll see how we get on against them. But I understand that, and I'm probably on that side in that. But you have to then have a firm plan in place. Like you have to do the thing what other clubs do and start speaking to managers right now. It's dirty, and people don't like to be known as those kind of clubs. But clubs do it all the time. If you don't think you've got the right man in charge now, you go around and look for other ones that will take the place as soon as you've sacked this one. What we don't want to do is sack Daniel Farke and then wait weeks to employ another manager. We've done that before. But I would just say this. Wait there. You know what, Chris? I think you've just said what I was about to say. Chris has just echoed what I was just about to say. Farke won't get us up with a worse squad next season. This is what I would just ask to the people that do think we should keep Farke. With the sale that is due to happen if we stay in the league, do you trust this man to do better with a worse squad? That's the question that I would ask. Oh, yeah, Paul. That's a good thing. That's a good shout, actually. Yeah, I keep forgetting the athletic comment section. You're probably right. I don't read that comment section, but I do. But obviously, when you get to the bottom of the article, you do see that fans do comment. You're probably right. Yeah, that's probably where he does get his fan opinions from. Um, Lee, hey, listen, Cookie's he's been staunch, man. Look, shout out to Cookie, man. He's a good guy, man. I'm not even talking about the playoffs till it's automatically impossible to go up. Well, listen, with that, I mean, we'll bring this to an end. But we're gonna have to wait and see what Coventry do against Ipswich. If Coventry can beat Ipswich, it's in our hands, kind of. Well, it is in our hands, isn't it? Because we'll be second. Home game against Southampton, who are crumbling just as much as we are. 3 losses in a row. So yeah, but again, we're waiting on other people to do part of our jobs for us. Leeds United need to do the jobs themselves. Eventually, we've had chances to do it, and we haven't done it. So with that, people, this has been a great stream. You guys have been brilliant with the interaction today. If you want to leave your comments after the stream, cool, do so. Like the stream if you haven't done already. Free to do, just helps the channel out, makes the videos more visible as well. And I will see you in the next one. I think I'm going to have Sunday off. I'm going to chill Sunday. We'll come back in the week with more new content, people. It's been a pleasure, people. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Peace out.